The rain hammered against the windows of the penthouse suite, a fittingly dramatic soundtrack for the scene inside.
Sprawled across a plush white rug lay Marcus Thorne, real estate mogul, visionary, and now very, very deceased.
The city lights glittered below, indifferent to the chaos that had unfolded 30 stories up. Thorne's empire was built on glass and steel, but his life had ended with a blunt, heavy object.
My name is Detective Harding. I've seen my share of grim scenes in this city, but this one had a certain
theatrical quality. The victim was dressed in a silk robe, a half-empty glass of what smelled like expensive whiskey near his hand. The only thing out of place, besides the obvious, was a single, pristine white orchid resting on his chest. A calling card.
Or just a bizarre coincidence.
The first on my list of people to talk to was Thorne's wife, Isabella.
She was the picture of grieving widow chic, dabbing at perfectly dry eyes with a silk handkerchief.
She told me Marcus was a brilliant man, but a difficult one.
He had enemies, a lot of them.
He was ruthless detective, she said, her voice a well-rehearsed whisper.
He'd step on anyone to get to the top.
I suppose someone finally decided to step back. She claimed she was at a charity gala all night, and a dozen society photos backed her up. Alibi solid for now. Next up, Elias Vans, Thorne's business partner and longtime rival. They built their company from the ground up, but lately, rumors of a bitter falling out were the talk of the financial district.
I found Vance in his minimalist office, staring out at the skyline Thorne had so desperately wanted to conquer. He wasn't pretending to be sad.
Marcus was a shark, Vance stated, his jaw tight. He was about to push me out of my own company.
A company I poured my life into. He admitted they'd had a monumental argument yesterday afternoon. He claimed he went home to call off alone. No alibi.
Motive, practically gift-wrapped.
But then there was the activist, Lena Petrova. She'd been a thorn in Thorne's side for years, leading protests against his latest luxury development that was displacing a whole community. She saw Thorne as a monster in a tailored suit. I met her at a bustling community center, a world away from Thorne's penthouse.
She was passionate, fiery, and didn't mince words.
That man destroyed lives for profit, she declared, her eyes flashing with conviction. Am I said he's gone? No, but did I kill him? I fight with picket signs, detective, not with.
Whatever killed him, she said she was at a planning meeting with 24 other activists all evening.
Another solid alibi.
3 prime suspects, 3 compelling motives. The grieving wife who stood to inherit a fortune, the betrayed partner about to lose everything, and the righteous activist fighting for the little guy.
The case felt like a tangled knot.
Every time I pulled a thread, it just got tighter.
I went back to the crime scene.
The forensics team had been through it with a fine-toothed comb, but I needed to see it again myself.
The place was sterile, almost like a showroom.
Thorne's life was curated, perfect on the surface.
But murder is messy. It leaves traces. I walked through the massive living area, past the grand piano, the abstract art.
I stood where Thorne had fallen. The city below was a sprawling map of his ambition.
That's when I noticed it.
Something so small, so insignificant, it had been overlooked. Tucked under the edge of the heavy marble coffee table was a tiny fleck of green. Not fabric, not paint.
It looked like floral foam, the kind florists used to arrange flowers. My mind immediately went to the orchid.
The single white orchid on Thorne's chest. It wasn't a random, poetic gesture.
It was placed there, deliberately. Who had access to floral arrangements?
The charity gala.
I pulled up the photos of Isabella Thorne from the event again.
There she was, smiling for the cameras. And on the table in front of her, an elaborate centerpiece filled with dozens of white orchids. The exact same kind.
I called the event planner for the gala.
He confirmed the floral arrangements were custom, designed by a very exclusive downtown florist. I paid the florist a visit.
An old, wizened man with hands stained by decades of working with plants.
I showed him a picture of the orchid.
He recognized it instantly.
Ah, the Phalaenopsis.
A very special order for the Thorne Gala, he said.
Then I showed him a photo of Isabella.
Yes, Mrs. Thorne herself came in 2 days before the gala, he continued.
She picked them out.
But she also bought something else.
A single stem.
Said it was for a private sentiment.
The timeline started to click into place. Isabella leaves the gala, but not to go home.
The press only stays for the first couple of hours.
She would have had a window of several hours, unaccounted for. She drives to the penthouse. Marcus lets her in. Why wouldn't he? They argue, maybe about the business, his affairs, the life she felt trapped in. She saw her chance to be free, with all the money and none of the man. She grabs the nearest heavy object, a small abstract metal sculpture I'd noted on an end table, and it's over.
The final, contemptuous act.
Placing that single orchid on his chest, a symbol of the beautiful, perfect life she was leaving behind. A life that was all a lie.
I found her back at the penthouse, directing movers who were already packing up Marcus's personal effects. I didn't need a confession, not right away.
I just walked up to her and said, "It was a beautiful flower, Isabella, but you should have been more careful with the foam. The mask of the grieving widow didn't just crack, it shattered."
Her eyes, which had been so dry before, now filled with a cold, hard fury. It's funny.
In the end, it wasn't the billionaire's ruthless deals or the activist's righteous anger that brought him down.
It was a simple, elegant flower, and a wife who had finally had enough of living in her husband's shadow.
The city kept glittering below, already forgetting the man who tried to own it. A silent testament to the fact that no matter how high you build your towers, everyone is eventually brought back down to earth. Thanks for watching. This was a fictional story, but it goes to show that the smallest details can solve the biggest mysteries. If you enjoyed this detective story, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more. See you in the next case.